Getting started as a forager can be intimidating, but there's a species of tree that you pass by probably every day that couldn't be easier to harvest and prepare. If you can make tea, you can forage this plant. Are you ready to learn how? Let's go. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jonathan. I'm a wildlife ecology professor sharing learning experiences in wild and whole foods. Every spring, there's a species of tree that offers gifts to those who know how to use it. Harvesting the new growth of spruce and fir trees is one of the best ways to get started as a forager. The new growth of these trees are high in vitamin C and other nutrients. The tips are widely available for a couple of weeks, and the trees themselves are very easy to identify. So in today's episode, I want to walk you through the plant ID process, show you how to harvest the tips without damaging the trees, and prepare a simple syrup out of the spruce tips that has a wide variety of uses. Let's get going. Identifying spruce and fir trees is relatively easy. You're looking for evergreen trees that have relatively short needles arranged on branches that resemble a bottle brush. All right, spruce tip season. So this is one of my favorite wild foods to harvest, and it's probably one of the easier ones to collect. I came out this year a little bit later than I would have liked. A lot of the tips have kind of unfurled quite a bit, and the more unfurled they are, like this one here, the more bitter the flavor is. So a lot of your spruce tips, when you want to harvest them, are going to look like this. Three-prong set of new growth, and I tend not to want to pick the one that's the leading new growth, but one of the ones on the side. That way the tree can continue to elongate, and in later seasons allow for more lateral growth. I usually pick one of the two of these. So this at this stage, the new growth is ripe for the picking. This is when you want to pick uh, the spruce tips to make your syrup. At this stage, this kind of advanced stage, you can see the color is not as vibrant and the new growth has started to spread out. This is going to be pretty bitter and not really good eats. So you want to get it somewhere in between. And this is a really good example because you can see the multiple stages of growth that you have here. So something like this is going to be pretty tasty. This one I think is probably going to be at the edge of what is going to be tasty. This one here should be pretty good. This one here. But definitely once the tips have gotten to be this unfurled, you probably don't want to use this for anything other than something that you're going to add a lot of bitter flavor to, like beer. So before hops started to be really popular to put in beer, people would use spruce tips as a way to add that bitter sort of citrusy flavor. So it is May 6th right now, and I think probably last week would have been the best time for me to come out and collect these tips. The other thing that I'm doing is making sure that I don't collect more than one or two on a given tip of this evergreen, because this is how the tree actually grows or creates new growth. And so I don't want to prevent the tree from being able to do that. So when you're picking spruce tips, never pick more than, usually they come out in a prong of three, and you never want to pick more than two on a particular branch. Otherwise, the tree is going to have some growth issues. So I've just got a 32-ounce deli container here, and I'll do my best to fill this one up. I think this is a Norway spruce, and I've got a sort of a more blue-green spruce over here. I'm not exactly sure what species it is. And that one's even more far gone than the Norway spruce here, and so I don't know if I'm going to pick those. Just come out, and they come right off. They're bright green, so they let you know that they're available for the picking. So you just pick as many without doing damage to the tree. I'll keep picking, filling up my container. There will also be a lot of spiders, other arthropods that are hanging around. So again, you just want to be careful and not disturb them too much as you're picking. Be thankful for the gift. Give thanks to the tree for sharing so that you can have more and more as the years go by. So thank you, tree. You can also just eat these like straight away. Really bright and citrusy, a little bit bitter, but a little bit of bitterness is good for you. But it's interesting that these guys they taste a certain way raw right off the tree, but then when you make them into a syrup, they have a completely different flavor profile. So it's really wild how the flavor changes. So I'm going to pick a bunch more, and then we'll take them inside and show you what we do with them. So ended up getting a moderate amount, really not a moderate amount, but a small amount. And like I said, that's okay. This is the first year that I've collected and was a bit late in the season. So if I come out probably the week before, I would have been able to get more, especially from the other spruce species that's in the yard, which are pretty prolific, more so than this particular spruce. But this should be enough to make a fair amount of, maybe about a quart of spruce tip syrup that we can use for a variety of different things. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. Again, you want to make sure that you're not collecting too many of these so that the tree can be healthy. And as an introductory sort of collection in our yard for the first time, this is pretty good. So happy with it. It'll be a little bit amount, but a little bit goes a long way. All right, let's get inside and make this syrup. Okay, to get started with this process, you want to make a simple syrup. A simple syrup contains equal parts water and sugar. You'll want to bring this solution up to temperature such that the sugar dissolves completely. Then you'll want to bring your simple syrup up to a boil, turn off the heat, and add your harvested spruce tips. Unfortunately, my camera cut off, so I didn't record the adding of the spruce tips. But you'll want to add the spruce tips after you turn off the heat and let that steep overnight. The longer you let your spruce tips sit in your simple syrup, the stronger the flavor of your spruce tip syrup. The next morning, you'll want to strain your solution such that the spruce tips are filtered out and all you're left with is the simple syrup flavored with the tips. It's really just that simple. Go out late April, early May, look for those bright green tips that are growing on your spruce or fir trees, pick a couple, make sure you take less than you think you might need, make a tea, and, well, there you go. The syrup itself, if you choose to make a spruce tip syrup, the syrup should last in the fridge for up to 3 months. And you can add it to anything that requires sweetness. My favorite application is making a soda for the summer. It's got a refreshing, citrusy kind of green apple taste that just goes really well for days like this, nice and sunny. something cool and refreshing to drink. And one of the other things of making this kind of syrup at home is that you can control the sugar level and what type of sugar you put in this syrup. If granulated sugar is not the best, then try honey. Or if you wanted to mix some flavors, maybe some maple syrup, although I'm not exactly sure how that would go. It's worth a try though. You can infuse a neutral tasting alcohol like vodka. You can make spruce tip butter, use the spruce tips in baking. There's lots of different applications besides this one here. If you're just starting out in your foraging journey, I think spruce tips are probably the best plant species you could begin with because it's just so easy and forgiving, and the applications are virtually endless. Foraging wild plants doesn't have to be complicated or dangerous, and starting with spruce tips is a great way to introduce yourself to the plant relatives that are around you. If you're looking for more tree foraging content from the channel, check out this series on harvesting maple sugar from the same backyard. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on